decode life so that your experience becomes more proactive than reactive. You become more of a creator versus a reactor. It's requiring you to get out of your comfort zone. It's requiring you to shift things. It's requiring you to change. So the comfort zone that we've been in the past no longer is working for you as spirit. It gives you a sense of self-awareness so that you can start looking at yourself in the mirror and look at, where do I fall short of who I'm required to be? So welcome to another Manifesting Success Live call where we get to talk about all things manifestation. So today, our theme is leveraging cycles to increase your wealth. And we're going to talk particularly about the cycle of this year and how it's preparing us for next year. So again, today we're talking about leveraging cycles to increase your wealth. And in particularly, we're in the middle of August right now. And it's crazy to think that this year is almost over and we're preparing for next year. So we've already gone through that hump of, midway through the year, and we're really gearing up towards the end of this year. And what I'm noticing with my clients, with people around me, with my colleagues, even with my coaches, and even with myself, there's this push to grow and to grow really fast. And some of us have, raised our hands, and we're very much open to going on the growth journey on our own. And some of us are a little slow at that, so we kind of need a push from behind. And some of us are resistant to it, so we need a kick from behind or a 2x4 to the head. So depending on where anyone is at, you're going to have a different experience of this year. For me, I'm pretty aware, but I'm also pretty stubborn, and I like to take my sweet time. And I'm kind of getting a little kick from behind, and I know some people are not. None of you. I think my clients are doing really well. You're not getting the 2x4 to the head, but you're getting the kick from behind. A lot of people out in the world are getting the 2x4s to the head, and why is that? This is a 7-year. I am. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle when we figure out the universe and we figure out our life and how things work. So what I like to do in my work is I take clues from everything and I try to make things make sense. As a teacher, that's my job. It's like I want things to make sense, and I want to look at the patterns. So when we can figure out patterns of how life works, then we can kind of, like when we figure out a code, then you can kind of break the code, and not necessarily break the code so you don't have to experience it, but decode life so that your experience becomes more proactive than reactive. You become more of a creator versus a reactor. And so you may not believe in numerology, and it really doesn't matter. But I encourage you, or I invite you to just be open to the concept. So when we look at this year is a 2023. For those of you who worked with me since the beginning of the year, we had a lot of big discussion about what to expect this year. So when you add the digits 2, 2, and 3, it comes up to 7. 7 is an exciting number. And I say that facetiously. It's actually a great number because 7 means spiritual growth. Now, spiritual growth sounds wonderful and sounds amazing and sounds incredible. But if you think about spiritual growth, it's requiring you to get out of your comfort zone. It's requiring you to shift things. It's requiring you to change. So the comfort zone that we've been in the past no longer is working for you as spirit, because I'm talking to you as we're human beings. I'm talking to you as a being here for a purpose. And our purpose, I believe, is evolution. And so as we change and as we grow, we are going to hit these periods where the universe is like, okay, we got to get going, right? We got to grow. We have to learn. We have to become bigger. We have to become better versions of ourselves. You have to step into your highest part of yourself. And so The 7 is a wonderful year of spiritual growth. And so if you look back, so the last time we hit the 7 year was 2014. If you look back at 2014, what was that like for you? That was a big shift for me in my life. I mean, I had to reinvent myself at that point. I had, had a restaurant that shut down. I didn't know what direction I was going. I was doing this work, but I had a long-term plan. And 2014 kicked me into really taking this seriously and doing this full time. And there was a lot of shifts in my my finances and my relationships, in, just really how I spent my days and how I spent my time. So think about what you were doing in 2014 and how much growth you had, right? And sometimes that growth, that spiritual growth, is more of an awakening. It's this beautiful place where we just open up to, the universe, and we might be, we might spend the year at an ashram meditating all year. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe you devoted yourself to Jesus, or maybe there's so many different ways that it plays out. But what we can't do is deny it. And so what I encourage you to do is look at what's calling you to become bigger, what's calling you to become better, and kind of to say yes to it. And it's, I remember I went through a tough time, and I was seeking advice from my coach, and she says, it kind of sounds like you're on a kind of like the boat, the whitewater rafting boat. And she says, what you have to do is hold on and enjoy the ride. And it really shifted my perspective, because I thought, okay, it's going to be bumpy. I'm not going to know, what happens when you're whitewater rafting. It's you get shoved to the left and right, and there's no rhyme or reason. You might think you're going to be going this way, and all of a sudden you get sideswiped, and, the rock pushes you, every which way. You might jump out of your seat, so you kind of have to hold on, or you might fall over completely, and you sit there and flail for a little bit until someone rescues you, or use every muscle in your body to get back to the boat. So it's hold on and enjoy the ride. And when we say enjoy, might seem, again, a little like, what do you mean enjoy the ride? It's the less resistant we are to the shifts and the changes that are calling us to grow bigger, then the smoother it is. Because here's the difference. When we're resistant, we're looking at what we don't want. We're focused on that specifically, what we don't want, what's going wrong, what the problem is, what the constraint, the issue, all of that is. And because our focus is there, that's what we're going to create more of. Versus, oh yeah, that's a problem. Let me go back to, okay, what's the learning? What's the lesson? What is required from me in order to grow through this? One of the biggest questions that I ask myself when I'm in a situation that seems pretty daunting, and I feel stuck, and there's really no movement out, what I ask myself is, if this is how the rest of my life is going to be, meaning if the situation, the event, the experience outside of me would never change, what is required within me to become okay with it? What is required within me to be strong, to be grounded, to be okay with this situation? Because one of the biggest things is, when I look at evolution, and spiritual growth is designed to make us greater. And by greater, it could be, kinder, more loving, more successful, more ambitious, more giving, more forgiving. Again, all of us have our different experiences. And those experiences are required for our spiritual growth. So I might as well connect to what's that growth in me. So when I look at what qualities do I need to develop within myself so that I can be okay with the situation? And I tell you, when I found that gem that answer, all of a sudden, like the situation just disappears. It goes away. And those of you, again, who worked with me for a while, I'm sure you could probably attest. It's like, we always say, you can't make this stuff happen. I mean, the things that turn around once we get that blessing, once we get that gift, and we become different. See, the most of the world is waiting for the outside to shift, the outside to change. We're waiting for the experience to go away. We're waiting for the problem, the person, the job, the economy, the president, all of that stuff to change so that we can finally be happy. And part of our spiritual growth is finding that you have everything within you to become whole and to grow and to fill in that need. And so the 7 year, I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to kind of take a couple minutes to write that down right now. And I'll have you share in a little bit. I want to make a few more points before I have you share, but take a, and you don't have to share, of course, it's voluntary, but take a couple notes. What is calling you to be greater right now? In what area of your life? Where are you hitting those roadblocks? What is, and again, that's, everyone has their curriculum. For some people, the curriculum is relationships. For some people, the curriculum is health. Someone might have, I've actually been doing a lot of healings lately, and I'm getting so many people with cancer. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's their curriculum. That's their curriculum. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's stability, it's their home. And so we all have our different curriculums, but because this is manifesting success, we could talk about specifically money or manifesting things. But hold on, let me do a caveat to that. We don't want to focus on things. We don't want to focus on money, because then we kind of miss the point. That's what the ego wants us to focus on. But that could be our curriculum. It's that lack of money, or those problems around money, is what's grabbing our attention to change and to own a part of ourselves that we haven't said hello to. And the reason and why I say own part of ourselves that we haven't said hello to is because within you is the answer to every problem. You have qualities, characteristics, strengths, abilities to overcome anything and everything. And some of us haven't really developed that. We haven't tapped into it. And so part of the spiritual growth is, how do we tap into it? Because we're required to tap into it. Now, let me give you kind of the next step of it. We're talking about cycles. Next year is an 8th cycle. 8 cycles all about abundance, all about money, all about infinite potential. The infinity symbol, right? 8 is an infinity symbol. So what's available to you, which is kind of, I'm dangling the carrot. I'm asking you to take the bait. Know that if you figure this out this year, you're going to have an incredible next year. If you don't figure it out this year, next year is going to be tough. Because an 8 means you have to get ownership over your finances. Now, what that looks like, what an 8 looks like for some people is their finances are going to skyrocket. For other people, it's going to tank. And so if we haven't harnessed the power of this 7 year, meaning we haven't grown to the level of abundance that's required of us, that is available to us, that potential, then we're not going to ride that wave, so to speak, into that 8th year. We're going to be working through money issues, because 8 is about money. And how do we work through money issues? Some of us have to lose all the money. And I'm not downing that. I mean, I've been broke, I've been homeless, I've had to, I can tell you lots of stories of my financial struggles. And that has taught me a lot about abundance, and primarily that I am abundant, that all I have to do is shift my thought and it's available to me. And there's nothing I cannot create. It wasn't easy to get there. It took lots of those, losing everything for me to realize that, for me to get to the point where I have a 100% trust that the money is there and the money will continue to be there and will grow in abundance. So the energy of the 8 year that we're preparing for, is so it's kind of a bonus year. I love 8 years when you've got the spiritual growth. Again, it could be really tough. It could be a learning as well. But we're in August, and and again, we only have a few more months. And so if you've been in my empowerment and success program, if you listen to those, I believe in those 3-month cycles, those 90 days. Your life can completely transform in 90 days. You can absolutely be a different person in 90 days. And we're almost coming on those 90 days. And I look at that and I think, oh, maybe that's why shit's hitting the fan right now for a lot of people. It's like the universe is like, okay, you got a little bit more than 90 days. You got a little bit more than 90 days. Let's get your button gear. And here's, one thing, when we're fruitful, when we have all of our needs met, when things are easy, even when we've gone just a little bit past pain and suffering. And I know you know what I'm talking about. When you're just past the struggle, we stop working on ourselves, right? How many of us have been guilty of, oh, wow, that problem just got solved miraculously. Oh my God, that's so amazing. I meditated, I manifested, I visioned everything. I was in a positive state. I created this miracle. I'm out of the dark or out of the red. And everything that got us out of the red, we just kind of stopped doing. That's when we get lazy in our meditation. That's when we get lazy in our mindset. That's when we allow those negative thinking to control us. That's when we go back to the ways, the habits, the thinking, the beliefs that didn't serve us. So we get lazy. And maybe it's none of you. It's just me. I'm just talking to myself right now. I don't think any of you do that. But we've, or I've been guilty, I should say that. Nobody in here has ever been guilty of that. But we stopped doing what was required. We stopped doing what got us that level of success. And so I want to share a couple ways to get through this and speak specifically about money. I believe what's required of us in this 7 years, number one, commit to your spiritual practice. And what that spiritual practice does is it gives you a sense of self-awareness so that you can start looking at yourself in the mirror and look at, where do I fall short of who I'm required to be? And it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of honesty to look ourselves in the mirror and say, I'm not always true to my word. I say I'm going to get all these things done this week, and I kind of do about 80%. I do 50%. I really wasted a lot of time this week, and I didn't do much. So it's looking at ourselves in the mirror. That spiritual practice allows you to that space and that time to be honest with yourself. And then it also allows you to start to become more of a creator. So when you look at the difference, if I were to write the words reactor and creator, what's the difference in those two words? It's what you see, right? Reactor, the C's in the middle, creator, the C's in the front. You start with what you want to see. That's how you become a creator. A reactor, right? What does re mean? Doing it again. Act is taking action. Reactor means you're just running the same old tape. So when you commit to your spiritual practice, you're able to take a step back, be a creator, and in essence, slow life down. So you have time to see what you want, look at your perception and see what works for you, rather than acting in the same way that's gotten you the same results, that will continue to give you the same results. And setting those intentions, I'm really big on those intentions, daily intentions for inspirational living. That walks you through how to set your day up for success. And it's not supposed to be just kind of an act of, writing everything down monotonously or blindly. It's for you to set your intention for the day. So you start your day as a creator. And when you are in that place of creating your life, then it's like one of my mentors, Brendan Burchard, a lot of you know him. He said he used to be asked all the time, like, what do you do when you're in a bad, when you have a bad day? Like, how do you redirect when you have a bad day? He's like, I never have bad days. I create my days. And that's where we want to get to the point of where you don't have bad days, because you're constantly creating. You set the intention. And so what you're looking for is evidence of that success. That success. So you start your day with intention, and you're present to what's going on now, with kind of an eye to your future, meaning you still have your vision, but you're not living in the future. If I always think I'm going to create this tomorrow, when does tomorrow come? Some of us are really good at tomorrow. Guess what? Tomorrow never comes. So we want to have our vision, but we live in the present moment. And that morning reflection allows us to do that. And it has to be intentional. I don't want you to do it blindly or just kind of like, oh yeah, as a chore, I got to get it done. I've already shared this a number of times, and I apologize, but I was obsessed with the series Chosen. And so I'm going to quote it again. I've been obsessed with Disney in the past, and I quoted a lot of Disney. So whatever I'm obsessed with in the moment, I'll be sharing. But what I noticed is that people were Jewish, right? And they had all of the Torah memorized, and they would recite it at different times. So there was a morning Torah or a recitation from the Torah, and I apologize if I'm messing up I'm not 100% familiar with the religion. But there's morning prayer, food prayer, and evening prayer, prayers for Shabbat, for everything, for when you're scared, for when you want to ask God for forgiveness, with all of this stuff. And what's beautiful is they memorize it, and they memorize it. And why do they memorize it? There's this beautiful scene where there's a little girl, she loses her father, and she keeps remembering her father saying, what do we say when we're scared? I get chills thinking about it. He asks her, because there's thunder and there's things, that she gets scared of. And as she gets older, there's things that frighten her. And he always and she flashbacks to him saying, what do we say when we're scared? What do we say when we're scared? And she has memorized words from the Torah that's asking God to protect her. Why is that so important? Because what that does is it silences that voice in us that wants to take us down a dark place. And we all have that, right? We all have that spiral down that, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't pay my bills. I'm going to go homeless. And what am I going to do next month? And, oh, my husband, my wife, or I have cancer and I'm going to die, and this thing's going to take over my whole body. And, we go down this spiral, and that having those words memorized is a way of changing your state. Changes your state immediately, so you can go back to, what do you want to create? And a prayer is a beautiful thing. An affirmation is a beautiful thing. Going to your vision is a beautiful thing. Reciting your intentions is a beautiful thing. So whatever we use to shift your state so that you can cancel those negative thoughts, because we know it goes down, it just takes us down, and we keep going down, 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 right? And then at some point, it's hard for us to get out. So it's kind of like the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other. And there's, so many parables that talk about, well, they're both talking, loud, and they're both fighting. Which one will win? And the wise old man says, the one you listen to. Or if there's wolves, there's a bad wolf and a good wolf. Which one do you listen to? It's the one you feed. So that's part of, again, our spiritual practice, but that takes us through the entire day. And the other thing is stewardship. In a 7-year spiritual year, we're required to be good stewards, incredible stewards of our life, of our spirit, of our time, of our money. And this is going to test us. Are we being good stewards of our money? What happens with most people is once they get money, they spend it. They spend it. I mean, look at people who live paycheck to paycheck. I had a client once who was making almost $500,000 a year. That was her paycheck. And she was still living paycheck to paycheck. And we had to shift that mindset so that she became a good steward of her money, and then allowed it to watch, made changes so she could watch it grow. Versus, I mean, why are we living paycheck to paycheck when you started probably a minimum wage when you're young? And as you grow older, we're still in this constraints, because most people, as soon as they make money, they start spending it. I had a tenant one time, and this was a year and a half ago. I just bought a property, and I had to vacate the entire building because we were going to do a lot of renovations. And they were in there for a few months, and it was probably May where I said, we kind of need you to move out. And she was distraught, and she was upset. She's like, I wish you would have told me earlier, because I got the tax refund. Maybe it was like June. She's like, I just got a tax refund and I spent it all. But had you told, like, it was my fault. Had you told us earlier, I would have saved that money for my move. And and Robert is sharing that 75% of employees live paycheck to paycheck. Absolutely. And I would say most people, probably more than that. And we're talking, people who own their own businesses and all of that. And so, and I just thought, wow, that's why she's in a position she's in, is because she is living paycheck to paycheck. She is, as soon as she got a tax refund. And because she got this money, she spent it. We just went through COVID. Now, a lot of people got some big checks during COVID. And then now they're feeling the pain of that money running out, and now having to not have business. We had a thriving, businesses were thriving for a lot of people during COVID, because the real estate market was up, the demand for food was up, for supplies. The government was just dishing out checks like there was no tomorrow. There was massive money going out to people. And people were thriving during that time. And right now they're in a place where, holy schmoly, what do I do? It's because they were not good stewards of their money, versus other people who used that money and invested, or used that money, or looked at that money and said, but I'm still maintaining my standard of living. I am, I'm using my money wisely. I'm using my money for assets, not liabilities, until I become 100% financially free. Meaning my money is working for me versus me working for my money. I am not going to invest in liabilities. I'm not going to spend money that doesn't bring me any real value. So we're required to be good stewards of our money. For those of you who work with me, you know about Date with Dollars. You know about really looking at your assets, looking at your income, looking at what you're spending money on. You know how to, we have lots of tools and resources for you to do that, and how to start thinking about where you're allocating your money, because most people, again, are living 100% of their income, whereas we should be living at 50%. That should really be our goal. And within that 50%, we allocate it towards different things that ensure our financial future. So being stewards of money, and here's one thing that I want to share with you. Just imagine you have your favorite grandchild, your favorite niece, your favorite, I wouldn't say favorite daughter, favorite child, but sometimes we do. Just imagine you're taking your children to the ice cream store. Like thrifty ice cream, the best, right? Get the cone, get the ice cream on top, and they just kind of have that round block thing that they just kind of stick on top of the ice cream cone. So your grandchild, your child wants ice cream, and you walk by Thrifties, you're like, yeah, let's go get some ice cream, because you love your child. You want to give them a little treat, and you walk in there and they get their, Rocky Road ice cream that's on that cone, and they're happy and they're licking it, and they're, thank you, grandma, thank you, mom, thank you, auntie. And they walk out the door, and as soon as they walk out the door, their hand tilts a little way, and the ice cream on top just falls to the ground. And they're sad and they're in shock. And they don't know how that happened, right? They were enjoying their ice cream 1 minute, the next minute that scoop was gone, and they're sitting there with an empty ice cream cone. And you look at them and, you feel bad, and you're not going to punish them. It's not their fault. Thrifties, they just kind of lay it on top. So you're like, oh, no worries, honey. We'll go back in there and get another one. So you go in, you wait in line, and your child, we'll call her Mary, notices that everyone's getting 2-3 scoops of ice cream. So you got this great cone, and there's Rocky Road and strawberry and sherbet right on top, this great ice cream cone, and they look at you and say, Mom, Auntie, can I get 3 scoops? I want to get 3 scoops. That looks fun. That looks yummy. Now, as much as you love your child, your niece, your grandchild, it would be irresponsible of you to give them 3 scoops of ice cream. Why? It's not because you don't love them. It's not because you don't have the money. It's not because of anything other than they didn't show that they could take care of that 1 scoop. How are they going to take care of 3 scoops? It would be irresponsible. It would almost be mean, because they're going to drop it. They need, it's a little 3-year-old hand or a 4-year-old hand holding that ice cream. Okay. And so think about that when it comes to money. It would be almost irresponsible for the universe to give you millions of dollars if you can't show how to take care of 50,000, 100,000, even $500,000. So there's almost like these stages of growth that we have to go through. You hear the lottery stories of people who win the lottery, and they're the same place or even worse off 3 to 5 years later. Why? Because they've never become good stewards of money. And so if we want to be prepared for this next level of abundance, we have to learn to become stewards of money. You got to manage your pennies. You can manage your pennies, you can manage your dollars. You can manage your dollars, you can manage the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you can manage the hundreds of thousands, you'll be able to manage the millions. I know people who've made multi-millions and have lost everything because they never managed it well. So being a steward is one of those things. So how can you start to commit to being a good steward? It's commit to those date with dollars. Start to get a hold of your finances. You should know off the bat what interest rates you're paying or what interest rates you're getting. You should know what your stock market is doing. You should know how much cash you have. You should know how much debt you owe. You should know, all of this money, where all the accounts are. And I'm talking to the men and the women. And specifically women who give their finances over to the men. You need to know where all that money is. I'm dealing with an aunt right now, and I just heard from another aunt, and she's like in her 80s, that she has no idea like where the money is and her PIN number, and her husband's being kind of a jerk right now. And she's in her 80s and she's worked her entire life. And I'm like, how did that happen? How did that happen? And so we need to become good stewards of our money. And then also be masters of our money. The last point I'm going to make before I have you open up and share is I've talked a lot about being a master of our money versus money being a master of us. Meaning, how often do we play the money may I gain? People are, they want to do something. They're like, well, let me go check my accounts, or I don't know if I have enough money to do that. And what that tells me is that you are a master, you are a slave to your money, meaning money is deciding what you can and can't do. If you are up when money's good and you are down when money's bad, money is controlling your emotions. When you have to look at your bank account to decide what you can and can't do, money is in control of your life. Now, that doesn't mean spend money you don't have. What that means is you are a good steward of your money. You know exactly how much money you have, how much it's growing, what value you bring, and you know how you can bring more value. And when an opportunity comes, you get to decide what's best for you, not what money's going to allow you to do. I mean, I would love a G-Wagon. I mean, I've been looking at them. They're so pretty. My son hates them, but they're so pretty to me. I love them. And I could go buy it tomorrow if I wanted to, but that's not the smartest thing for me. That would not be self-loving, because what that does is it takes money away from possible investments for me. It takes money away from things that I could put into that would ensure my financial future. I'm not at the point where I've got this, umpteenth wealth where I can buy anything I want, and money is working 100% for me and providing the lifestyle 100% that I desire. I'm not there yet. So to me, my money is more valuable. I want to use it to build that. To me, the G-Wagon would be a waste of my money that I work really hard for. So I'm making a decision not out of money controlling me. I'm happy to wait on that. I'm happy to not get that car. If I were to get that car tomorrow, I would feel kind of not so good about it. And I want to feel great about money. I want to feel great about what I use money for. And I want to feel great, number one, about how I feel. How do I feel tomorrow? How would I feel waking up? How do I feel about my future? And spending it here or there doesn't give me pleasure. It doesn't give me pleasure. And so that's part of starting to really own and be aware and be a master of our money. So that's just kind of an example. But again, I want to bring us full circle back to the 7-year is about spiritual growth. Ask yourself, what is required within you to grow? And a good thing to look at is what problems are coming up, what issues are coming up. And so we don't look at it and focus on the problem, but it's like, oh, okay, this is coming up because I need to move past it. There's a gift here on the other side, because that stuff can't come with us in the future. And when you do that, then you have an incredible year next year to look forward to, where it's almost going to be, it's going to feel like lucky. You're going to feel like, wow, I hit the jackpot. I just got lucky. You didn't get lucky. You did the work. And not everyone's going to be able to ride that luck. But to be able to own, when my clients manifest things, I celebrate with them. And the reason I do that is because I want them to know that they created their success. It's not just luck. It's like, it's important for me that you know that what you did, either spiritually, mentally, physically, or emotionally, created those results. It wasn't like, oh, wow, I just happened to get this bonus. No. You created that bonus. Wow, I just happened to get these clients. No. You created the clients. Wow, I just happened to be like healthy and my doctor did. No. You created that. And it's not egotistical to do that. It's humble to do that. Because when you can make the connection that what you did, and again, co-creating with the universe, so I'm not talking ego like it's all me, but what you co-created with the universe because of your intention was responsible for your results. And what that means is it's repeatable. I'm not interested in one-off success. I'm interested in you becoming a person that consistently manifests success. All right, so just a couple of announcements. If you're interested in talking to me about how we can work together further, I've got a couple of exciting programs. We've got our group coaching that has just been just lots of fun and really helped everyone take some big steps. I've got some other opportunities to work with me. If you're at least interested, reach out to me. You can always DM me, and we'll set up a time to connect. Otherwise, I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.